Okay, so we are recording and I'm going to share my screen here in one moment. Let me pull this up. And at the start of this recording now, I'll just share again, my name's Erin O'Keefe. I work at Handshake as a relationship manager, and we're going to talk through the process of setting up a schedule, editing a schedule, and the day of experience for virtual fairs. So for the employer folks on the line here, I'll pause periodically for any questions. So I'll be sure to take time to answer any questions that come up as we go along. Feel free, let me know if you need a minute, but if you want to follow along with me step by step, go ahead and go to the fair page to follow along with creating this schedule. So are you both there, or do you need a minute to access that?
I'll need a minute.
Okay.
1 second.
No worries.
Okay, I'm here.
Okay, excellent. So Abraham's all set. And Abraham, do you see a screen like this, or did you already set up your schedule?
I already set up my schedule. My reps have, most of them should have already completed their schedules.
Oh, perfect. Great. We can talk through editing schedules as well. And Aisha, we can help send the fair URL. If you're not finding it, we can definitely send that along.
Do you need me to? I'm there now.
You're there now? Okay. And Aisha, does your screen look like this, or is the schedule already set up as well?
My schedule's not set up.
Okay, great. So Aisha, I'm going to walk through the process of setting up a schedule, and then we'll have a complete schedule, and then we'll talk through how to make sure your reps have claimed it and how to edit it if you want to edit it as well. So Aisha, feel free to follow along exactly with what I'm doing. So to start with creating the schedule, click this Add Sessions button. And this will take you to the step-by-step process of creating your schedule for the virtual fair. For Handshake virtual fairs, there's 3 big steps to creating your schedule. First, you're going to add the team members who should be joining you on the day of the fair. If it's only you, that's totally fine. It can be one person. But if it's you and multiple people who should be interacting with students on the day of the fair, you can select multiple people. So I'll say more about that too, but just to talk through the whole process, we'll select our team members, then we'll decide whether or not we want to add group session availability for the day of the fair, meaning you would be opening up 30-minute group session time slots for students, where multiple students, up to 50 students, can sign up for just a group session. So that's what we'll do second. And then third, we will create one-on-one session availability, so creating one-on-one time slots. And then we'll review and confirm everything. So those are the 3 key steps here. The first step we'll talk through in quite a bit of detail because there's some components to this. For other colleagues to join you on the day of the fair, they will need a Handshake user account. So that's one key piece, is your colleagues will not show up on this list unless they have a Handshake user account. So just important to call that out there. And Aisha, do you have colleagues joining you for this fair? Is it just you?
I will have one other joining me.
Okay, and do you see them in the list on your screen?
I do, yes.
Yay, okay, great. So feel free to select yourself and to select your colleague who's joining you. And just to call out to both of you, and for the sake of this recording, you can also help to add your colleagues as teammates and to help them get started with creating a user account. There's two ways to do this. You will see both of these buttons if you are the owner of the company, meaning kind of like the main person representative for your company in Handshake. If you don't see these buttons, the Career Services team can help you access this invite link. So that's something Career Services can help you with. But if you do see them, I'll just quickly walk through what they provide. This invite link, you can choose whether or not you want to add someone as a recruiter, meaning they would have all of the general power that comes with that, meaning posting jobs, creating events, all that stuff. Or you can have more of a lightweight role called a representative. That means they can't post jobs or do all of the recruiter things in Handshake. It's really just a great role if you just want someone to participate in this fair and don't need to have all the action capabilities in Handshake. So you'll select one of the role types, and then you can copy this unique URL and send that to your colleagues so that they can then create accounts in Handshake directly associated with your company account. So that's one way you can add teammates. And then another way is even more straightforward, which is you are kind of like filling out the basic information for your colleague. And you can fill out their email address, their first name, and any other information you want to put in here, including, again, if you want them to be a recruiter or more of a lightweight representative role. And you can click Create User. So Aisha, you don't need to do any of those things, luckily, since your colleague is already in there, but just wanted to call out that process in case you need to add anyone else in the future. So with that though, once teammates are added and have gone through, confirmed their email confirmation, created their password, you can now select which teammates will be joining you on the day of the fair. So select yourself if you are participating, and also any other colleagues who might be joining you on the schedule as well. Move this over here. Then I'll click Add Team. So next you can see here, we're in this second stage of creating group sessions. You do not have to have group session availability for the fair. It's totally up to you. So far, I've typically seen employers do a mix of like 2 or 3 group sessions and then also one-on-one sessions as well. I think it's good to do a mix. I think some students like the idea of signing up for a group session without having the pressure of a one-on-one. So I would recommend a mix if you're up for it, but it's totally up to you if you want to host group sessions or not. But I'll talk through what it looks like to set up a group session. So I'm going to keep this as yes, I am hosting a group session. I can decide whether or not I want the group session to be hosted on a Handshake video or on an external video platform like Zoom or WebEx, if that's your company's preference. The majority of the employers do host it on Handshake video. And then you're prompted to fill out the basic information on these group sessions. So you can outline what this group session is about, provide a more thorough description here as well. Next, you indicate how many of your team members will be hosting group sessions. So let's say I'm going to say there's 2 of us hosting group sessions. And then finally, you can select the time when your 30-minute group session will take place. That time can be in any of the time slots you see on your screen. It's totally dependent on the duration of the fair that you're participating in. You can set up as many group sessions as you want. They just can't overlap with each other. So if the fair is 3 hours long, let's say, you can set up 6 30-minute group sessions total. You can't do more than that because they cannot overlap. So I'll just say I want 1 during this time. And then if I want to, I can add additional group sessions, or I can just confirm and move forward in the process of creating my schedule. But I'll pause to see if there's any questions so far, and feel free to unmute yourselves for any questions about group sessions.
I'm all good.
Okay. So next I'll click confirm session, confirming that that's the setup I want for the group sessions. And now Handshake is asking which team members are leading group sessions. And it will pull from the names that I originally selected there. So I want both myself and Anna Marie to lead a group session. I said there would be 2 hosts, so I can select up to 2 team members. And then I'll move forward and assign the team. So I've wrapped up with the group sessions portion, and I'm on my final portion of assigning one-on-one sessions. It's totally up to you. I could skip this part, or I could give everyone one-on-one sessions. It's up to your preference there. When I go to add one-on-one sessions for an individual, I'm clicking this blue button here. And then Handshake asks if I want to add qualification requirements for the one-on-one session. So for this, I'll just call out that I would definitely recommend erring on the side of just not adding qualification requirements if you're wanting to just have an open schedule and try to fill it up as much as possible. If you, for very specific reasons, really need to fill out preferences for your one-on-one availability, you can do that. But just a word of warning, it's a hard blocker. So if students don't meet the qualifications you outline, they cannot see or sign up for your one-on-one schedule. So if I were to move forward with adding preferences for my sessions, I can click add requirements, and I can see all the requirements here. It's basically the same requirements that you see for job postings. I would especially caution, I mean, UT Austin team, feel free to chime in. I don't know if I'd select major groups just because that can be very specific with students. So, but these are the options you can have for preferences.
Yes, if at all possible, it's best not to select just computer science, because we have graduate students in the iSchool who have many, like if you're looking for a computer science major, or you think you are, there are people in the iSchool who have many of those same skills. There are people in electrical and computer engineering. There are people who do certificate programs. We even have students who are biochemistry, mathematics, and physics majors who learn how to code and have a lot of statistics knowledge. And so by not selecting just 1 or 2 majors, you open yourself up to people who potentially have those skills, but they're just not in the major you would think that you would find them in.
Agreed. Thank you for adding that additional context there. So I'll just move forward now with adding one-on-one sessions for my other colleague, Anne Marie. I'll keep it as no for adding preferences, and I'll click schedule sessions. And then finally, I'll click this button that says assign team to these one-on-ones. And I'm at the final stage of reviewing everything I just built out, the group sessions and the one-on-one sessions. And I can click confirm schedule and invite team. That will then automatically kick off an email to my colleague Anne-Marie or any other colleagues who I added, prompting them to claim their schedule. So they do have to take just very easy, straightforward action to click a button to claim their schedule. That's just acknowledging that they've seen this, they are participating in the fair, and they know how to sign into Handshake. Students will not be able to see your colleagues' availability until they claim their schedule. So it's very important that they get in there and click that button to claim the schedule. On my end, in this drop-down screen, I can always check to see, okay, here's my colleague Anne-Marie, and it says here it's still waiting for team member to claim their schedule. So that's how you can kind of keep track of whether or not they've claimed it. If they're just saying they haven't received an email, have them check their spam folder, and if they're still not finding it, just go ahead and send them the URL that I'm circling up here of the schedule itself. That's just really where they need to go to. They just need to go to the schedule page and click claim schedule.
Erin, this is Suzanne. I have a question. If this is someone that you had to invite to join Handshake, they didn't already have an active account, can they claim their Handshake account and claim their schedule in the same step, or do they need to follow two different emails to claim two different things?
They need to follow two different emails. I can't even add someone until they've fully confirmed that that their user account is confirmed. So it has to be two. They have to have their account first before I can even add them to the schedule.
Thank you.
Okay. Other things to note on this page that you both can see right now, the employers we have on the line, is you can always look through your time slot availability, and maybe you'll want to proactively mark as busy any breaks you want to take, or if you have other conflicts during the day. So feel free to mark those as busy. Those who claim their schedules can do the same thing. They can go in, click these three dots, and mark that time slot as busy if they need a break during that time. Next, I'll talk through editing schedules, but again, I'll pause to see if there's any questions. And then for both our employers on the line, if you have specific editing schedule questions, happy to talk through those first if you have questions top of mind.
I'm okay.
I don't have any questions regarding to the scheduling because I mean, it's pretty user friendly in trying to figure that out. I just wanted to figure out kind of what does each candidate see in our booth, or is there like a view that we can see of the students and what they see on ours? Because I have like multiple reps, but I feel like not all the reps are going to have full schedules at all.
That's totally fair. I'll switch to my student view in just a moment here so you
Okay,
can
sure.
students see. And at one point around that, Abraham, this might be a tip you'll want to share with your colleagues. If you go to your name in the upper right-hand corner and click User Settings, you can see your basic information, including any title you have filled out there. When students sign up for one-on-one sessions, they do see the titles of you and your colleagues. So if you're each trying to represent like a different type of role or line of work, I'd recommend filling that out in this title because students do see that.
Okay, yeah, gotcha. I made sure for them to put their exact title of their current line of business.
That's perfect. So with that, I'll actually switch over to the student side so we can see what students see. So let me do that really quickly here. And actually, I'll start from my home screen. Okay, so this is what students see when they sign into Handshake. So it looks very different from your home screen. On the day of the fair, they'll see a green pop-up at the top of the screen, prompting them to go to their schedule and they'll start launching videos to join each session. But I'll show what it looks like for them to go to their events page to explore events. This is where they see all their fairs and events that are available to them. And then once they click on a specific virtual fair, they can see the employers in the career fair details even before they register. They can see the list of employers who are participating. They can click on the different employers to check out the profiles of the employers in Handshake. So I would definitely recommend checking out your company profile, making sure it's up to date, that you like the banner and whatever logo you have here. Students can check to see if you have any jobs available right now. And students can also follow employers. If a student follows an employer, they will get an automatic notification if an employer posts a job or if an employer hosts a new event. So that could be something you might want to call out to students that you're interacting with during the day is, hey, we recommend you follow our profile in Handshake to keep apprised of anything else we post this year, if that's something you want to share with students.
Okay, cool.
But in terms of like seeing the sessions themselves, so I will click available sessions as a student. This is where I can peruse for the UT Austin Fair. It'll be a long list of employers and all their available sessions. If you only have one-on-one sessions available, it will look like this, where they will see the name of the company, the logo of the company, and then whatever description of the company you filled out in the career fair registration. So they'll see that, and then they'll see the ability to click this to schedule a one-on-one. I already scheduled one with someone, so I'm already registered for that. But let me show what it looks like in another example. So O'Keefe Company, there's a group session, so I can sign up for this group session, and or I can do both. I can also sign up for a one-on-one with O'Keefe Company. And this is what it looks like. Only one team member has claimed their schedule, so the student's only going to see the team member who has claimed it. And this is exactly what it will look like. They'll see their name, their title, and then as other team members claim their schedules, they'll be able to scroll down and see other team members and bubbles of availability like this. Students will not be able to double book themselves. So I already signed up for a 12:10 time slot. So even if I try to book this, it blocks me from doing so. So I'll click this instead, and then I'll click confirm. So now as a student, I see an ongoing list of the sessions I signed up for. I have a one-on-one with Alex's financial firm and a separate one-on-one with O'Keefe Company. On the day of the fair, it looks pretty similar for employers and students. So you'll both live in your schedules on the day of the fair within Handshake. And as these time slots roll around, there's actually extra leeway time for employers. So your join video button will become active 1 hour before the start of each session. That just is to allow employers extra time for prep, especially if you're presenting something. For students, it will become active 5 minutes before each session. So this will turn blue and it will be clickable on the day of the fair. And then students, same thing with employers, will go into separate videos for each time slot. So from 12:10 to 12:20, I'll be launching a specific video here, meeting with that employer. When I'm done with that, I'll leave the session, and then I'll have to make sure to come back at 12:40, launch a video session with a separate employer. I'll leave that and then come back later. And I'm going to switch back to the employer side in a moment to show exactly what it looks like to launch your video. But are there any other questions on the student side or student perspective here?
I don't have any questions on the student side.
Okay. So let me switch back to employers. And I'll go into my fair. I'll walk through some of the editing information in case you decide to edit your schedule. And then I'll talk about the Rsvp tab and then launching the video. And also one thing I want to call out is as students sign up for your sessions, this is what it will look like. So Aaron O'Keefe signed up for the 12:40 to 12:50 time slot. and I can click here to view her profile. So this will fill up with students as they sign up for time slots. But for editing your schedule, there's a few ways to edit it because you have a lot of components, right? You have your team, you have one-on-one sessions, you have group sessions as well. And you might want to change those for whatever reason at any point. Most of the editing capabilities take place under this Manage Sessions drop-down. So this is where you can conduct all of these actions that are outlined here. You can add a team member to an existing group session. So if you're going to have another co-host join you, you can add a team member. You can create a new group session if you only had one group session to start, and if now you want to add that group session, you can do that here. You can manage the information on your group sessions. Maybe you want to edit the name of it, the description, or how many hosts there are. You can edit group sessions. These two are very handy as well. So transfer schedule to a team member, that is very handy if you have a last minute cancellation, like if your colleague is sick and a new colleague needs to come in to take over the schedule, you can click transfer schedule to a team member. So I can say, actually, Anne-Marie is no longer participating. Students have already signed up, so I still want to make sure someone meets with them. So I'm going to transfer her schedule to Kelly instead. And I'll click confirm. And Kelly, and that schedule will be transferred to my colleague Kelly. She needs to come in, make sure to claim her schedule, but that's a way to transfer it to her. And another one, which is what's newly added here, actually, which sounds like won't be a situation needed for our employers on the line today, but you do have the power to just clear one-on-one qualifications, even if it's on the day of the fair. So you can choose a specific individual and say, okay, I initially set up one-on-one qualifications. I want more students to be able to sign up during the fair. So you can click clear qualifications if you'd like to. And then finally, so I just walked through all of the things you can do for manage sessions in this dropdown. If you want to add an individual for one-on-ones, that will happen under manage team. So to do that, you're kind of taken back to the basic schedule creation process. So let's say Clinton wants to join us for the day for one-on-one. So I'll select his name. And I essentially just want to get to this part of the schedule creation process so I can give him one-on-ones. So I'll just move forward with the schedule creation, moving past the group session details and moving past that. Now I'm in the add one-on-one session section, and I want to give one-on-ones to Clinton. I'm not going to give preferences to him, and I'll click assign team. And then I'll confirm the schedule again and invite the team. So those are pretty much all of the major ways to edit the schedule. You can also, I don't do this right now. This is a recommended kind of like backup plan if for whatever reason that there's like maybe a firewall situation happening with your company on the day of the fair and Handshake video is being blocked. You do have the ability to switch a time slot to be an externally hosted video. So if like an earlier time slot, Handshake video is being blocked by your company laptop, you can now go in and go to the future time slots and say, okay, I'm going to just switch to externally hosted. I'm going to make this a Zoom. So you can plop in like a Zoom link or a WebEx link here and click add link. So don't do that right now again, but that's a backup plan if need be. Next, I'll talk about the RSVP tab and then finally testing the Handshake video. But any questions from either the employers or the school team about the editing schedules capabilities that we just talked through?
Yes. So where can Where can they change the host for a group session?
They can do that by, let's see here. They'll want to, are they adding a new host for the group session? Like they want it to be someone else?
Yeah, it's like they want to add a new host.
Yeah, so what I would actually recommend for that is I would start by going to manage group sessions and choosing the group session that you want to change. And let's say if this were originally 1, change it to 2. So like up the cap, like up the number of hosts you can add to this. In this case, I'll up it to 3. So saying I want to be able to add a 3rd new host to this group session. So do that first. And then after you edit that information in the group session, go back to this drop down and add team member to group session. And so now I'm going to consulting opportunities and I'll add Clinton. And so now he's added, he can now just be there for the group session and kick it off.
Thank you.
Sure. Other questions from the employers or the team here on editing schedules?
Hi, Erin. It's Karen from UT. I was just wondering if the student signs up for the interview slot, the one-on-one, and then the host or the interviewer is changed, will the student get a notification of they're on a different schedule now, or?
The student does not get a notification if it was changed to a different person. They do get a notification if the time slot was canceled by the employer. So an employer, like if schedule things happen and need to cancel a meeting, they can do that by click cancel meeting and cancel the one-on-one session. And in that case, the student would get a notification.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay, more questions may come up, but I wanted to talk about this RSVP tab next that I'm circling here. This is super handy and can be used before, during, or after the fair. It essentially will let employers see the full list of all the students who have signed up for all of their sessions, their group sessions, their one-on-one sessions, everything. They can also use filters to filter down to, okay, I just want to see people who met with Erin during the fair, or who signed up with Erin for the fair. Or I just want to see people who participated in the consulting opportunities group session. So they can use these filters. They can also select some of the participants or all of them, and there's some actions they can take from that. So they can bulk message students. This can be handy if there's like something urgent you need to just tell everyone on the day of the fair. You can bulk message students from here. Or it can be maybe something after the fair to send like a thank you note and resources to follow up with the students. So that can happen here. And then finally, there's this more drop-down menu. And employers can download a CSV list of the students who signed up for their sessions. And it's just the students who signed up for their sessions. It's not like the whole list of students at the fair, just those who have signed up for a time slot. Same thing with downloading resumes. Employers can download a list of any public resumes that the students have uploaded into Handshake and have indicated as visible or public. So it's possible that students don't do that, so their resume would not appear in here, but if they did upload a public resume, it would be included in this download. Okay.
Erin, what was the label? There was a label.
Employers can also, this is kind of advanced a bit in terms of tracking candidates, but similar to career services teams, employers can label students in terms of categorizing candidates for however you want. It could be something like met with the student at a career fair, or any way they want to track different candidates. So that's more so if you're kind of using an advanced way of tracking candidates. Students do not see that label. It's for employers' own tracking purposes. Okay, last but not least, Abraham and Aisha, this is something I strongly recommend that you and your colleagues do before the fair, is this blue button here says test handshake video. Do this before the day of the fair itself, just to make sure everything's working properly. And if you're not already, please be on either Chrome or Firefox. Those by far work the best for using handshake video. So I'd recommend downloading one of those browsers if you don't already have one of them. And you can click test handshake video then. Career services team, you can do this too at any time. There's a link. This is the demo site, so the link looks differently, but employers and career services teams can create a test video session at any time. I highly recommend to launch a video session. I mean, you can just create it and do it yourself, but if possible, include some teammates whenever they're free to test it with you. So that way you can see if someone can hear you and see you and practice presenting or anything like that. So include teammates if you can. And then you can click create test session. And then once you click that button, you can see here, this test session will expire in 30 minutes. So it's available for 30 minutes. And here's your unique link that you can now click. And this is the experience that you'll have on the day of the fair. So it's the same experience on the day of the fair as you launch each session. I want to wave. Before you join like the one-on-one or the group session, you'll get to a page like this one where you can make sure everything's set up the way you want to. You can click these 3 dots to make sure your audio settings are in the right spot. Same thing with your video settings. You can report a problem to our support team, which submits a ticket for them to investigate. So this all, I mean, I'm just testing this out right now, but this will also appear again each time you launch a video session with students. And then once you're feeling good about your sound and video, you can click join. And this is what it looks like to join the session. So my video's off, but I can turn it on again if I want to. And I'll turn it off. This button here allows you to share your screen with students if you're sharing a presentation. And then these buttons here, so this one with the people icon, in like a group session, you'll be able to see the names, all of the attendees in a group session. And this chat icon, this will allow you to chat with students. It's available in the one-on-one session and in the group session, so you can utilize it for both. I definitely see this being utilized more in group sessions. If it's like Q&A and if students are chatting in questions, they can do that through this chat, and it will all appear here for everyone to see. This is also a good backup plan if for whatever reason the sound settings weren't set up properly for the fair. Keep in mind you have a chat here, so as like a backup, you can send someone quickly your phone number if for whatever reason the sound isn't coming from the right source. So that can happen there too. As mentioned, Handshake won't kick employers or students out of the video session once 10 minutes has passed, and we won't kick you out for group sessions once 30 minutes have passed. You have to intentionally leave the session in order to close it out. And you will get a 1-minute warning heads up before the session is scheduled to end. But then you can leave the session. As an employer, you can end the session for all. And that will wrap it up. So that was a lot, but we definitely finished with time to spare, so would love to hear any other questions or thoughts from anyone on the team right now.
I have a question. I have an employer who she's been trying to message students, and when she got to her 100th student, she got blocked. And so Susanna and I understand that if they're messaging students for the fair, it doesn't count toward their 100. But I don't know if she submitted a ticket and a real person responded or if it was like a chat bot, but she asked the question and then she got, I think it was a chat bot because it came back pretty fast, and it said that she had to be a premium employer to go over 100.
Yeah, good question. So in terms of messaging students who have either applied to a job or RSVP'd to an event or a career fair, that should definitely not count against the 100 message limit. So I don't know if this employer, it sounds like this employer may have been like cold outreaching to students to maybe encourage them to come to, like, to sign up for her sessions. If that's the case, there is a limit per semester or per like recruiting season of 100. But if she's in this, we'll just go back here.
Yeah, this particular student had signed up for a one-on-one session.
Okay, got it.
And
That should not count against it, especially if she's going. I think what I'd want to make sure is that she's going from, sorry, I want to get back to my fair. I want to make sure she's going from this tab specifically to message the student.
Oh, maybe not. She might not.
I'd recommend trying that rather than clicking on the student's profile and messaging from there. So if that's still not working, definitely let me know, but it should not count against the limit.
I think she was trying to go to their profile because she sent me a snapshot of the student's profile and it said limit reached or whatever the message is in red. So that's probably what she was doing.
Got it. Good question. Other questions?
Ruth, I have your list of some FAQs that you've gotten from employers. Do you want me to read out some of those?
I was sitting here thinking, okay, I had a whole bunch of questions. What are some more?
I know you've gotten a lot. I'll just dive in. So let's see what we haven't covered yet. I know you're getting a lot of questions from employers about decorating their booth. How can we help employers shift their mindset to understand that there isn't really, even a virtual landing page for them? What can they do to promote their company within the confines of the virtual fair, since they can't decorate a booth?
Yeah, it's a totally different, it's a mindset shift for sure. Like, this is not intended to replicate the in-person virtual fair experience with like booths and avatars and things like that. It's really, and I think what's been really helpful in terms of the employers I've met with is to like view as a student and show them, okay, I'm a student, this is what it looks like when I go to a fair, and the list of sessions looks like this. It's very like, like fresh, clean outline with just kind of like uniform display of employers logos. And I think the best way for them to stand out is this description there, which, by the way, this pulls from their career fair registration that they submitted when they originally registered. So they might not even remember what that is, but they can see what that is by, tell me if this is like not helpful information, but they can see what they filled out originally by going to this registered button here and clicking view registration. And as long as employers can still register, they can click edit here if they're still within like the registration timeline, and they can, it's this employer description. So I would just use this when students are scrolling through the companies, they will see this description, and this is what will be used to stand out. And then finally, just check to make sure whatever logo they have in their company profile is, this is very boring, this green O. So something that's like cool and fresh and stands out to students.
That's really helpful. So they can edit it as long as employer registration is open. They can edit their company description.
Yes, they can
Okay.
edit. So, and I should say too, the company description and this logo here is what students see in like the full list. But as I demonstrated, students can also click to see the company profile. So make sure students can see this at any point. So make sure they know they can edit this company profile to make it look very nice as well. To make sure the description is cool here. They can add in, you know, different social media sites. They can update their banner and their logo on the company profile. So you can kind of view this as a booth. It's just, this profile is available on Handshake to students all the time. So it's an everlasting booth for employers. Sorry.
You know, well, I'm just thinking out loud, but I know that, I don't know if Erin, you've seen other fairs on the one-on-ones. Do people like to just keep it camera to camera? So I feel like if there's not gallery view, the person's like right there in the screen. So we could suggest to employers that they share their screen, and then when the student enters that interview room, they'll see the logo or whatever, you know, whatever the company puts up on the share screen. But then that makes the interview tiny and on the side like this, but.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
I think for the one-on-ones, I would leave it as just like video. My inclination is to leave it video to video, just so, because it's just like, this is a conversation. This is not like an official presentation or interview. It's just like two people meeting each other and getting to know each other. For the group session, I think that's smart. That's like a good time to shine and maybe present something and show off really cool stuff about your company. But for the ones, I lean toward video to video.
Yeah.
Yes, I've been telling people that what they can modify is what they're showing on their screen. That they can't modify their booth, but they can modify what they're showing people on their screen. And that's the place to do anything they want to market or publicize.
Agreed.
Ruth, I saw another question you were getting a lot was, can we chat with students during the group sessions? And Erin, I know you showed what that looked like, but you also asked, can we see the students? So can you, Erin, talk about the way the gallery view versus the speaker view, and how there is a limit at 15 people, how students' videos and audio are turned off, just to give employers a sense of what that group session might look like?
Yep, definitely can speak to that. And there is no gallery view, and I'm not sure if that's a Twilio. Twilio's the video vendor we use. I'm not sure if that's a Twilio thing or a Handshake thing, but right now for group sessions, you just see the video of whoever is talking. So that's one note. And also too, if there are more than 15 participants in the group session, videos are automatically turned off. And participants are automatically muted. So it's just the employer whose video you can see and their screen as well. And they can call on students, they can unmute students to ask their questions. But when we were testing this tool, it was too chaotic with more than 15 participants with like video switching all the time. So yeah, there's no gallery view, and if it's fewer than 15, students have the power to show their camera, not show their camera, unmute themselves, mute themselves. If it's more than 15, the employer needs to take an active role in unmuting students to participate.
Thank you. I see a related question you get, Ruth, is can students see each other? And it sounds like if it's over 15, no, they cannot. But if it's under 15, then it's up to the student. They can turn their video off. But if it's on, then other students could see that student talking.
And now I'm wondering, because I know in a group of over 15, employers can call in a student, unmute a student. And I think when they do that, the student can show their camera, but I'll need to double check on that one. So for groups of more than 15. Okay, I'll double check that.
Thank you. So anyone else, please feel free to interject with questions, but if not, Ruth, I'm going to go through some more of these commonly asked questions that you sent me. So I know you're getting, what is the latest date we can create schedules? So how long do employers have to wait, or can they wait until they create their schedule?
They can literally create the schedule during the fair. That's not ideal. So I know some schools have been telling employers like the deadline is X date to kind of like incentivize employers to just create it, but they can create it during the fair itself.
Excellent. You've also been asked, how can we schedule sessions so that this fair is as much like an in-person fair as possible? Again, I think we're thinking about a mindset shift, but what would be your advice to try and best replicate that in-person fair experience?
I mean, I don't recommend trying to, I'm struggling answering this question because I don't recommend trying to replicate an in-person fair experience. And this is speaking from like I used to be a Deloitte recruiter, and the in-person fair experience was like very hectic, very long lines, very loud and chaotic. So, I mean, one thing that's new in this is the group sessions. Like in in-person fairs, I was never able to host a group session. So if you only want to have like one-on-ones, then just set up one-on-ones. And that's totally okay too. I would say if you're not expecting a ton of students, maybe you do only want to have one-on-ones. So that's my thought. If the group session is quite different, that's not something we've had in in-person fairs. So stick to one-on-ones if that's what you prefer.
Thank you. I think that's helpful. So relatedly, you talked about the RSVP tab and how students can see resumes, but is there a way for employers to see resumes? Can employers see the resumes during the one-on-one or during the group session, or do they need to have a separate tab open so they can access that student information?
I think they need to have the separate tab open to get to that RSVP. And they actually, what I would recommend for that is to go to that RSVP tab before the fair, download the resumes of students so that you have those handy once you start meeting with students. But yeah, the only way to download those resumes is through that RSVP tab specifically.
Super. And that actually answers another question, which was, can we have access to students' profiles and resumes before and after the fair? And it sounds like the answer there is yes.
Yes, this is something good for the career services team to know. Employers can access the fair after it happens. They might not know that, so they just need to have the URL for the fair. So if they ask, like, I don't know where my RSVP tab is, just send them the URL for the fair. That does not expire. And I've heard employers say, like, no, it went away, like I don't have access to it anymore. That's because Handshake automatically filters out past fairs. So they would need to actively click include past fairs to see the ones they've attended. So just a tip there. You can send them the URL to the fair, and that does not go away afterward.
That's so helpful. And I know we have just 1 minute left, so I want to make sure if there are any other questions that didn't get answered that we have a chance to ask them now. Awesome. Erin, this has been so helpful. Thank you so much for your time.
I'm glad it's been, I hope it was helpful. I know your team is on the front lines and answering a lot of those questions. So hopefully there's some new information for you all today.
Yes, there